Hello, personal productivity enthusiasts and community. Welcome to Anything But Idle, the Productivity News podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Co-working Space by Personal Productivity Club. I'm Ray Sidney-Smith,
And I'm Augusto Pinaud.
and we're your hosts for Anything But Idle. Today's episode is episode number 67, Windows 11 being flexible and productive, and more productivity and technology news this week. We're recording this on June 28th, 2021. Each week, we read and review and discuss the productivity and technology news headlines of the week. And we usually start that off with a little bit of a discussion around a theme. And I just pulled from last week that last week we had International Yoga Day, and so I figured we could talk about flexibility and productivity, how to be flexible and productive. And so to start things off, Augusto, I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on what you think about having, say, Slack in your personal productivity system. How do you create a little bit of kind of elasticity in your personal productivity system so that you can stay on track even when things, have give and take on either end of projects?
Okay, I'm going to ask curiously, since I was going to ask to answer in a completely different way. But it's like it is one of the key components of being productive, and actually, in my opinion, one of the only ways to be productive. I have seen when I work with clients, they bring this 87 thing list in front of me, and I say, okay, and when are these going to happen? Well, tomorrow. And how many things can you accomplish per hour? Well, the last 3 days I have done 4. Okay, so 8 hours times 4, 32. We having an issue here, and that's something that happened, and to most people. And there is a story that was brought to me recently by somebody, and I want to share with our listeners. So during one of the World Cups, it was Russia versus Brazil on the World Cup. So the Brazilian coach came and said, okay, this is how the game is going to happen. We're going to do this, and that's going to be goal number 1. And then we're going to grab the ball again, and we're going to go to the left to the bottom, and then goal number 2. And then we're going to get the ball again and go to the right and do a diagonal, goal number 3. And then one of the players, raise his hand and say, I have a question, coach. What is your question? It's not clear. No, I just want to know if the Russians are going to play. And the reality is we all, like that coach, plan our day that way. And it is healthy to ask, are the Russians playing today? Because if they're not playing, hey, your plan may work really, really well. But if they are, you may be in trouble. And based on that, I try to the best of my abilities to plan what is in that calendar that cannot be moved, what is on this task list that cannot be moved. And I keep that list short. And then I do a second list that I call Plan B. Okay. And Plan B is the list that I'm going to look when everything fails. Okay. So I get to the meeting, and the meeting now starts 20 minutes later. I'm sure that happened to a lot of people. So the problem is, if you wait for those 20 minutes to plan what you are going to do, you are out. You need to know when these people is out, you should be able to grab something that says, this is my plan. This is the Plan B items that I can get done anywhere, no matter what, in 10 minutes or less. So when those things happen, you can really maximize all those windows. So those two things allow me to keep myself pretty flexible. I work at home. I've been working at home for a long time, and I have 2 kids. Yes, they're growing, but still, they coming to teach them what is important. I'm trying to understand what is important from their perspective, and even that they are your kids, it applies the same when you talk about the office. You need to train your team into what is important and what is important for you and what's really important for an interruption. So all those things, if you put them in place, helps significantly with that Slack.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about the concept of flexibility in productivity, knowing that life is chaotic, and it's within that chaos that we find eyes within the storm, and we're able to be productive in those spaces. And so not so much about trying to control the chaos of life, but really trying to be productive in those pockets of calm. And that's really how I see flexibility for me, is basically preempting what could be mess, chaos, disorganization, and otherwise, and try to stay ahead of that as much as possible. And I feel like the other side is not to really self-flagellate and really be negative toward myself, because there are enough people around to do that. I don't need I don't need self talk or self speak to be negative. I certainly don't need it from people around me, but it's going to happen. And so the goal is to be able to work through ways in which you can, within the space you have, create a locus of control, and then also focus on positive self-speak in and around those areas. And that helps you be both flexible and dynamic, both emotionally, mentally, and with regard to managing projects. And I think that it's just a good reminder to us all that, we can twist ourselves up in knots over all kinds of things, but most things are not important enough that they are life and limb, right? If there's something that is really causing you immense or immediate physical harm, then you should deal with that. Dodge the car, dodge the bus, call 911. You do what you need to do there. Everything else, you can really have a moment of pausing and planning, and the world's not going to fall apart. And I think that level of flexibility and dynamism in our own personal productivity systems need to be built in, so that we know, okay, when I say something's going to take me 5 minutes, I should say 10, right? And then if it only takes me 5, maybe it takes me 6. Now I have 4 minutes that I can put something else in that space. And for me, that is really the flexibility, is having that extra space, that extra stuff that I can do in that space. If I'm in the queue at the grocery store, well, I can read a few emails. I can, do a couple of things in line because I have my mobile phone with me, and I can handle that time in a productive way. So we can be flexible in so many different areas of our life, and it's good to keep mindful of that as well. All right. We've had a little discussion about flexibility and productivity, Augusto. Let's go ahead and cover and discuss the productivity news headlines of this week. Let's get into the headlines.
So the first thing is Telegram for iOS gets updated with group video calls, screen sharing, animated backgrounds, and more. The other news are cool. The group video chat was interesting. I'm a big fan of Telegram, and having multiple people in the screen, being able to share the screen, and even beating in a certain way Apple to the game with FaceTime. We have talked about it. So put Telegram in a really, really interesting place. Sadly, I don't have everybody on Telegram, but that means I will continue pushing for Telegram, because it's getting more and more powerful and better and better.
I think this is great. I love Telegram. Every time I hear people who don't know about Telegram, I encourage them to install it and use it. It is a great centralizing application. It's very secure, and it gives everybody a robust, stable platform in which to collaborate. And yeah, it's a great app. And you can do it in the web browser. You can install the desktop applications. You've got the iOS and Android apps. It's just really flexible, and I feel like it's a really strong application. Telegram is one of those apps where everything feels right. Like as you are working in the application, everything just feels right, and they do things in this way that are just these very subtle but important features. Like if I call you, Augusto, via Telegram, it does that little beeping, but if we disconnect for some reason, it actually gives me an audible beep to tell me that we've disconnected, and it does it on both sides. So you just don't continue talking to yourself for 5 minutes, right? Until the person reconnects. And it's those kinds of subtle details that are just really, really nice about it, and I'm really appreciative of them doing that. All right, onto some Evernote news. In full disclosure, everybody, I am an Evernote certified consultant, and I'm one of the Evernote regional leaders for North America. But notwithstanding that, Evernote has brought back import folders to Windows, and they have brought to Mac for the first time import folders. I'm not sure what I said before. Yeah, import folders. Import folders to Windows is back in the new Evernote. Import folders is now in Evernote for Mac or Evernote Desktop on the Mac, which is just brilliant. I'm really excited. They've really made the whole process seamless, and I really like the way in which they've implemented that going forward. I really hope they add some kind of monitored folder in, maybe for images or something like that on the mobile. Really, really like that for them to be able to, you take a photograph and then, Evernote just basically monitors for photographs to be added to your folder and for them to suck those images into notes for you. Not there yet, but at least we have Evernote Desktop with import folders back. Next up, Augusto.
The next news we have is Google Chrome is bringing back that if soon you will be able to find in the search all those tabs that you have recently closed will show in Chrome soon, will appear in the search tab for easy access. So I'm sure you have closed a tab like I have done, and then suddenly it's like, what is it? Now they will come to have that available for everybody.
So to clarify what it is actually is a closed tab group doesn't mean that you've actually closed the tab group as in like shut down the tabs. It means when you have Chrome open, you can expand the tab group so you see all the different tabs, and then you can close the tab group so it shrinks, it accordions into just the label for that group of tabs. And so you can now search in that group of tabs. Now, quick note though, if you ever were to close that tab group, you could just use Shift-Control-T or Shift-Command-T on the Mac, and that will reopen the closed items. So utilize that shortcut. It's so helpful. You accidentally close a couple of tabs, and you're like, I needed that. Shift-Control-T or Shift-Command-T, and that'll help reopen those. But this new feature is going to allow you now to search the tab group, even when it is accordioned closed.
Good.
All right, next up.
Our next news is Google Contact is rolling out new people page. I was really excited when you can go inside of Workplace and look, okay, what is the relationship? What are the things that are happening? Kind of in a CRM view for people. Every organization should have a CRM, but not every organization have one. Okay, that's a fact. But the organizations that don't have one who leave into Google, this will be really useful for people to see. Okay, now you can see somebody and see what are the relationship with managers, what you have, the last interactions you are having, what is their information of this person. So really, Google is taking this to the next level.
Yeah, I love the recent interactions widget that they've added here into the contact space. Now that you can see, okay, these are the last couple of emails that I had with that person. This is the last meeting I had with them. I just recently, looked at this in early release, and I saw, I looked at a contact of mine, and I hadn't talked to them in several years, and so now it's like, that's going to remind me that the last time I talked to them was this time. So the next time we speak, I have more context. I have more information about that person. Even though we email all the time, we actually haven't been quote unquote face to face in a considerable amount of time, and that's more information that's really useful to me. So I'm really glad that Google is doing this for us. All right, next up.
Well, those are the articles we have for this. We have short on articles this week because our feature story of the week we know is going to take longer, so we decide to keep short the articles so we can keep the show in the time that it normally has.
Fantastic. So now for a word from our sponsor this week, Co-working Space by Personal Productivity Club. We'll see you after the break.
While working in person may be normal for you, it's unlikely your coworkers are as interested in being productive as you are. Or working remotely or from home can be isolating. And there's something powerful about being with productive people, even virtually, that helps you be more engaged. If a flavor of these sounds familiar, Co-working Space by Personal Productivity Club is for you. Co-working Space is a virtual work community designed to help members be more effective and efficient in their work and personal lives. At its core, we provide goal tracking and host focused action sessions throughout the week for accountability and camaraderie. Visit anythingbutidle.com/co-working to learn more. Co-working Space lives inside Personal Productivity Club, a digital community for personal productivity enthusiasts, so you can find people who use methods and tools you do too. Again, head over to anythingbutidle.com/co-working to see how Co-working Space can help you be more productive. And now, back to our show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Anything But Idle. I'm Ray Sidney-Smith, joined with Augusto Pinaud for the second half of the show. And so with that, Augusto, let's get into our productivity articles this week.
So our next article is from Leo Teixeira and is called "Is Your Desk Holding Back Your Productivity?" And I must say, I love this article. So many times people think is the desk, is the routine, is, as he mentioned in the article, all these things, instead of thinking, well, what is holding me back? And looking really into the actual real reason, as he said, well, if I love that he said on the article, yeah, this grapefruit and as a nothing one. And I should have that, and that will improve my productivity. And I must say that guilty of charge on an early part of my life, okay, in which I was convinced that the certain toys or the latest toy or the new toy was going to help me. That said, careful, there is extreme, okay? Don't go to the one extreme buying every new toy or to the other extreme falling apart because you cannot buy the tools. There is a healthy medium onto that. But what is important is what is the work you do? What is the difference you are trying to make? And what is the quality of the work that you're putting in? Has nothing to do with the desk, the technology, the tool. Are the tools going to help you? Yes. But if you have the best tools, but you don't have the most important ingredient, what you bring to this equation, the tool, honestly, is irrelevant.
I think it's a mixture of both. You have to have both of those items, and if you don't, you're really gonna hang yourself up. And so, good article. I enjoyed it, and I think folks should check it out. We'll make sure we have a link to it in the show notes. Next up,
the 3 superpowers I learned from working with Beyonce supercharge my productivity by Kel Mogotzi, and I apologize to her for chopping her last name, but this story, the article tells story about a person getting invited to, or the start with a phone call. Okay, you get a call from a client to reschedule. Great. Well, we're going to do tomorrow because Beyonce is going to be inside. Oh, okay. And what she's saying is really, what are the things that you can see in this, specifically in Beyonce, on that, the kindness, the recognizing her team, the how things work well, but how also she was taking time to be kind, to be real, to be genuine. Yes, it's she a superstar, no question about it. But one of the things Kel mentioned in the article was interesting for me how human they are. And I have had the good luck and good fortune to meet a couple of people, maybe not like Beyonce, but in good high levels, and has always impressed me that that yes, they are humans like you and I. They just live in a different world, but they are humans like you and I, and they're kind, and they are generous, and they really are interesting. So we tend to think that we are in a place different without noticing that what part of what take them there is that they were that way before they got there. They did not get to that place and then turn into kind and caring. No, they care, and they were genuine, and they were kind before they got there. And I agree, that is a productivity superpower.
Yeah, I will say that celebrity, the way in which I judge celebrities are the way in which they treat the staff around the people who are not on camera. And I've been in many circumstances now, in a past career. My mother came into contact with lots of celebrity folks, and I would always watch as a kid to see if the celebrity was nice to the people who were off camera, and that's how I decided that I liked that celebrity or not. And that rule has stuck into my adulthood, and so I'm yeah, I think it's a really great way to judge people. Is that it's like who's doing the right things when no one's watching, right? That's the medal of a moral and ethical person.
That's
So,
right.
all right, on to some news about Americans retiring at record rates.
Well, this article by Tim Fairholtz, it's bringing that since the pandemic started, the retirement rate has increased to 18, 19%. That is significant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking a little bit of what's going to happen, because sadly, retirement for people doesn't mean, oh, great, all this bunch of people retire. We have the people who are coming. And as a coach, I work with a lot of small businesses, and usually there is not a path of what happened with so and so retired. And it's a problem because in many cases we don't even know what so and so do. So and so has been doing this for so long that we don't know. And I wish to tell you that larger corporations don't have that problem, but that's not always the case. So these things, it's going to cause another set of issues coming out of pandemic when we try to fill these spaces. We have been noticed that in past weeks, what the other articles have been saying about people not wanting to come full time, to wanted to a radical change to what is the work, and how certain organizations, or many organizations, are fighting to go back to 2019, and how the people are saying may not work. So this is just another variable added to that complex discussion, because if you have now these senior people bring a lot of experience, brings a lot of knowledge, bring a lot of know-how that if has not been well documented, now is lost. And that may cause for many organizations an interesting gap.
Yeah, I think this is a good thing and a bad thing all in one, right? The good thing is that there are a lot of young people who this is about the time in which millennials should be raising in ranks to higher and senior level positions. And since we have longer lives, our lifespans have extended so dramatically, the course of people being able to elevate into higher positions has been somewhat stagnant for several decades. And so, if you have a baby boomer, with no disrespect to anyone of any age, it's just a reality factor that they're going to stay in their job if they're healthy and capable and competent to be able to do that job. But that, of course, kind of holds up other people down the chain of succession. And that has been a challenge. So the more retirement, there's more money going back into the economy potentially in those short-term timeframes. People will elevate, meaning they're going to get, salaries that are going to allow them to be able to spend in the economy. I hope a lot of these retirees start new businesses. I hope they go to their local small business development center and they start a business and let those economic development agencies help them grow and foster their local communities with businesses. On the other side of that, as you said, there's a productivity hit when you have this massive amount of change. And so you're going to have a lot of churn, and those, seriously, everyone who has senior staff, they need to start doing desk audits for those senior staff so we can see what it is that they actually do and how they do it. There are so many soft skills and policies and heuristics that they just do that are great and that are lost when you have these changes of the guard. So I really hope that people start thinking about desk audits, making sure they're interviewing those retirees as they leave their organizations. And that way there isn't as big a productivity hit as there could be. And so the folks who are really capable of diving in and saying, we understand you want to do something different. And now because of the pandemic, just like spice of life, wanting to take the bull by the horns, great, go out there and enjoy your golden years. But can we have a day with you to know what it is that you do so we can make sure that we can transition that on to the next person and be comfortable in that sense there. All right. Next up, we are going into new tools of the week because Augusto and we come across a lot of personal productivity stuff, tools and services, as well as the articles and news related items that we bring to you each week. And so in this segment, new tools of the week, we try to bring you a tool we think you might like. And so this week, we've brought you 2 tools. And the first tool is a tool called Shortcutter. And you'll note that a couple of weeks ago, we had Art Gelwix on the show, and he had brought up a particular tool that does something similar. But this had come across my desk some time ago, and I've played around with it on occasion. And it's called Shortcutter. And Shortcutter provides you with basically a super powered shortcuts / widgets control panel. And so the application, once you install it, this is for Android, it gives you just a lot more power in the drop-down menu. But what's more powerful is this sidebar, this like shortcut sidebar that you can actually install into the system. And you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it, including having it run particular scripts to do things. And so really, really powerful. And then you have this pinned shortcuts area. So you can actually, basically have these shortcuts to do things all throughout the Android ecosystem. So really interesting product. So if the prior, and I apologize, I can't remember the prior application that Art had brought, but if you go back, I think 2 episodes or so, you can find that in the new tools of the week. You can kind of compare and contrast that with Shortcutter, and I think Shortcutter is a pretty good contender in that space. It doesn't do the search capabilities that the prior application does, and so that is one drawback, but this one is extremely flexible, and it gets a lot of good feedback from folks. I mean, clipboard management, all kinds of fun things inside of Shortcutter. So that is Shortcutter. Augusto, what's your tool of the week?
So let's go and cook. Let's go to Paprika. Paprika is a recipe manager, and it works iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows. What I like about Paprika is all of us has found a recipe somewhere in the web, but then that disappears. Paprika, you can get the URL, put it into Paprika, and Paprika will extract the recipe. So now you will have them organized with color, with the instructions. You can even go and say, well, the recipe calls for 1 person now, or for 4 person, I'm going to do 8, and the software will do it automatically. Or I'm going to do 1 person, and the software will do it automatically. You can also plan your menus. That's one of the features I use. Because when you get the recipes in there and you plan the menus, it will create your grocery list and it will add the things. So if you have 3 tomatoes in different recipes, it will tell you need 3 tomatoes instead of you need 1 tomato, you need 1 tomato, and you need 1 tomato. And that's a nice thing when you look at that grocery list. I've been using Paprika, I don't know since when, for a really, really long time. You can sort, you can create categories. It is a really fantastic thing.
Wonderful. So those are the new tools of the week, which brings us along to our featured story this week. And of course, last week, Microsoft held a live stream press conference where they quote unquote unveiled, although I mean people had been talking about it for weeks prior to, but they unveiled the new Windows 11. And so Windows 11 is a re-envisioning of how you interoperate with or how you interact with Windows generally. And so we wanted to spend some time in this episode talking through what Windows 11 is going to look like. If you are in the Windows Insider program, technically, as of I think today, you can go ahead and download the beta and have access to the beta. Remember, if you're Windows Insider and you're downloading a beta, it is test software. You do not want to put test software on your production machines. So put this on a spare Windows machine, but putting beta software onto your machine does allow for potential bugs and security things and whatnot to get onto your system. So be mindful of that. But being an Apple person, Augusto, what stood out for you in the Windows 11 announcement?
Well,
are you reaching to find something nice to say about Windows?
I am. Well, no, that's not true. There is a couple of things that I really like, but I wanted to cover. The first thing was the fact that they're centering on the bottom bar, that's cool. Even if you move it to, I hope that works. Even if you move the bar to the left, I think that's a good thing they're doing. The other thing is the fact that they are allowing Android applications on Windows. I think that's great. That is a great way for Microsoft to really tie up with Android and really be the desktop partner of Android in the same way the iOS is the desktop partner of the Mac. And I think that was really good. About the performance improvement and optimizations, I need to wait until I will hold my reservations in that. I don't use any Windows products day to day now. I live on an iPad, and I don't know. The Microsoft
And you have to have an NVMe device. You have to have NVMe storage in order for that to even work. So anyone who's installing this on non-NVMe technology is not going to get the benefits of that new cloud storage capability. So it's not going to really be much of a thing. But if you do get it, my understanding is that it's supposed to be a remarkable improvement performance-wise.
Well, one can hope. Again, I don't know. I don't. But those were the things that I. In the same way Apple play with their marketing, Windows obviously play with the marketing. When we have all this epic Apple thing going, we're going to do commission free. Well, read the little font, and it's not that commission free as they said, but hey, it's what it is. It reminds me of Windows 10 and Windows 10, no, Windows 7. When 7 came, people was really tired. They tried to introduce a bunch of things modern. What surprised me is they break. For years, Windows has been done their software pretty much backward compatible. You can go pretty back. And again, they came and say, nope, this time we are going to limit how far you can go. And that was an interesting change. So I wonder how long they're going to keep now Windows 10 and Windows 11, and if they're going to do a similar approach as Apple is going to do, that is going to keep and try to maintain two operating systems at the same time.
Remember, they're still maintaining Windows 7 in the long-term service channels. So they're willing and capable and ready to do that for people. I think there are some really good positive pieces here for Windows 11. As they demonstrated during the event, they showed how having a convergence device, basically something like the Surface tablet, Surface Pro tablets, you have a keyboard that's docked to it, or any one of the Acer Switch devices. You're running a Windows machine, but it feels like a Windows desktop operating system that you're using with a touchscreen convergence tablet type computing device. And they're trying to bind those two pieces together. So now if you have your keyboard on, you're working at a laptop, it should feel the same when you disconnect the laptop and now you're in tablet mode. Those things I think really make sense, and that's why they've centered the taskbar. I'm not particularly excited about that. I like having the taskbar fixed in one position. So I'm not sure how that's going to really work, because then the Windows button is potentially going to expand as you have more things in the taskbar. But we'll see. It's early days. I like the widgets. I think that's going to be really powerful. They've introduced that in Windows 10 in some light fashion. Now they're going to explore that much more in the system. I hope they don't tie all of this to Edge, because I want the flexibility of being able to utilize my browser of choice. So I hope they keep those things mostly separate. But I do like that glass, kind of transparent glass screen where you can know where you are, so you don't lose your place even when the widgets do come up and are on screen. I'm very skeptical about these Android applications where they have utilized Amazon and the Amazon App Store in order to be able to bring Android applications to the ecosystem. They had partnered with Samsung and Samsung Galaxy devices to bring those Android apps to Windows 10 by virtue of emulating the screen of those Galaxy devices. Now they're having Android apps installed directly on those Windows 11 machines, and you're operating them from that environment. I don't know. I've never been impressed with the Amazon App Store. And so it's all about having the right applications in there as to whether this will really last and will really flourish. I want it to be successful. There's no question in my mind that I want to be able to use applications that are mobile only on my desktop, and that's my working Zen place. I don't want to be working, unlike you, Augusto. If I never had to work on my phone or tablet again, I wouldn't, except when I'm away from my desk, right? I want to be able to use those devices when I'm away from my desk. When I'm at my desk, I very rarely want to actually be utilizing those tools. And so it's just a different working style, and that's the flavor of things. But I'm very, very cautious about this idea that when I go into the Your Phone app right now on Windows 10, I have very limited functionality. But just recently, Instagram said, well, we actually might allow you to start posting from the desktop web, which means that they're going to start reducing the barriers that Instagram once had about me being able to utilize Instagram on the desktop. And the more they allow me to use it on the web, the less I am likely to use Instagram on my phone. And they're not getting me any less, but I'm now going to do it in my place where I'm comfortable. And even if that's my laptop, sitting on the couch, I would just rather do it on the larger screen. And, I use Instagram on my iPad quite often because it is that larger screen. It's just easier to see things. Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know, but I just like the larger screen. I wasn't particularly impressed with the Windows Store. I've now gone in and installed a couple of applications from the Windows Store. It all seems and feels like every other Windows purchasing experience in the Windows Store.
So you need to remember.
Yeah. Yes, I haven't been particularly impressed with that piece of it, and I'll have to say, it looks very nice. Clearly they put some design thought into it. That's good.
They did, and then there is another feature that I want to mention that is, I think they call it the snap grounds, the layouts, and how many options are they going to give you? You can cut that screen in 4, you can cut the screen in 2, 25, 50s, you can cut it even on putting little things and big things on the middle. That was impressive and really, really interesting. And I hope that Apple follow path into that, even if their marketing says that they're going to invent it. I really hope Apple follow that, because that was really interesting. The other thing they did was the desktops. And we have seen this on Chromebook. You could do that on the Mac. So now you're going to be able in Windows to do it easier than what is possible today, and have your office, your home, your entertainment. So that was really cool too.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. But the snap layouts, I think, are going to be very, very powerful. They remember the layout when you I'm not sure whether it's just minimized or closed, but it remembers them. I'm a very strong user of the desktops right now, so that I have this desktop is for this kind of work, this desktop is for that kind of work, and so I'm a heavy user of that. So I'm curious to see how layouts work. Currently with tiling has a lot of sophisticated features on Windows. Unfortunately, I can't quite get it to work consistently when I want it to. And so if I want to be able to tile things in a past life, I spent a lot of time having screens side by side so that I can data enter things from one screen to another. I'd be looking at real estate documents on one side and tabulating those things on the other. And I would want to quickly snap those screens into place, look at them, and then pop out to a full screen after that. And many times, if you don't do everything exactly the right way in the right order, then it all falls apart. And now you have a bunch of windows that are like, little tiny boxes for the rest of its life, because you got to expand it and fight with it. It was just a nightmare. And so we still have some of those remnants. It's gotten better. And I'm hoping that Windows 11 really solves for this. I will say that the best thing that Windows did here was it made Windows 11 upgrade free. And so you're going to get Windows 11 for free, which is a great benefit. Most people upgraded from Windows 8 or 8.1 to 10 for free. And Windows has continued that kind of stretch because they want Windows to stay relevant and they want Windows 11 to be adopted. And so they've really, made it incredibly easy for people to say, sure, I'll try it out by virtue of going to this next level. But honestly, it's going to be more secure. It's going to be hopefully faster, even without the NVMe storage. But I'm hoping that Windows 11 really becomes a better user experience for all of us on Windows, and that's what I'm really looking forward to on the platform.
And that would be fantastic. I don't know, but that will be fantastic because, again, I understand, and I'm an iOS user. I have a Mac, but there are certain clients who want Windows, and I once in a while need to go into that, and it's painful. The experience, it is painful. So hopefully that will improve things.
Yeah, and it's not even that. Like for me, I'm a Windows user, and I have Macs and Linux devices around me all the time. But for me, I like Windows because I know a lot more about how to make things under the hood work, and that very functionality, it is built for productivity in that sense for me. And I know that people could be highly productive on Mac devices. That's not to say that, but it's just that I know Windows better. And so I'm always going to have an affinity for that operating system when it comes to working. And I get that same sense about Chrome, that there's a leaning into efficiency more than in, say, design and style. And Windows here is starting to do the work of maybe melding those two a little bit, and maybe Apple has just basically refined that over time better and faster. I don't know. And I mean, I was for many years a hardcore Mac, user on the road. So it's not like I've not been highly productive on the Mac. It's just for some reason, when I think of a desktop computer, I don't think of the iMac first. I don't think of it in that sense. So it's just getting my head wrapped around.
You may be in agreement with Steve Jobs when he said PCs are like trucks, and you like your truck when you feel at home. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Not a truck guy, but I do like I like a car with good torque. But the idea here, though, is that I think that we're seeing a convergence, an overlap between Apple and where Apple has come from, and where Windows has come from, and they're both starting to be closer and closer to being so similar. The same applications are available on both platforms. They're both interoperating with their mobile. The mobile standards that lean into each other. So you're seeing iOS and iPad connect more with Mac OS. You're seeing Android connect more with Windows OS and Chrome OS in that case as well. And so, yeah, I'm really curious. Over the next probably 2 years, we're going to see more and more of this overlap between what these devices can do. And I'm excited to see what Windows does when Windows 11 does come out in its formal sense in the fall. So that is our featured story this week about Windows 11. Anything in terms of, do we have any announcements? Do we have anything else that we have?
No, we have other news. So when you visit our episode on the notes, you will find a bunch of other news that we didn't cover this week, but that's it.
Fantastic. All right. With that, we've then covered the productivity and technology news headlines for this week. Thank you to Augusto Pinaud this and every week for joining me here on Anything But Idle. Thanks, Augusto.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Did we miss something that's not in the extra stories that are in the show notes? If we did, feel free to head over to our contact page at anythingbutidle.com, anythingbutidle.com. You can also tweet or DM us on Twitter. We're at Anything But Idle. And so we have our DMs open. You can go ahead and message us there. If you have a question or comment about anything that we discussed on this episode, feel free to head over to anythingbutidle.com/067. Every episode is numbered. And if you go to the episode number as the page, so anythingbutidle.com/067, you'll be taken to the episode page, and you can go ahead and leave a comment for us there. While you're on anythingbutidle.com/067, you'll find our show notes. They'll have links to all the stories that we discussed today, tools of the week. They'll also have our extra stories that we didn't or couldn't cover. We also have a text transcript on our episode pages, so you can go ahead and expand it by clicking on that read more link, and then you can listen or watch along and read along as well in that transcript. You can also click the download button that's below the read more link, and that'll download a PDF to your local system for you to be able to do that. If this is the first time you're watching us, feel free to subscribe to the the podcast through YouTube. You can also subscribe in your favorite podcast app just by searching Anything But Idle. Will come up there. Give us a thumbs up or a rating or review. All of those things help to increase our personal productivity listening community. And so thank you for doing that. With that, we'll see y'all next time on Anything But Idle. Here's to your productive life.